What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Schixo podcast here on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Schixomania. You can follow me on Instagram at SchizoForever, and of course, you can subscribe to me on YouTube at Schixo. So, today's topic, I really wanted to get into this today because this is something that I'm new to. However, technically, I'm new to it, but of course, I grew up along with it as well at the same time. I want to talk to you about Black Fatherhood today and why it's so important to me and how it's shaped my life and how I see it now that I have my own child. Of course, my first son was born a couple weeks ago on the 26th of July, 2019. And first of all, it was the greatest day of my life, hands down. Um, it's a moment I'll never forget, watching my wife go through labor and then watching my son actually come out and take his first breath and all that stuff. It was something to behold, and I thought I would have a different reaction to it. I thought it was something that would make me weak in the stomach. I think, oh man, I'm gonna pass out. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna watch this, but no, I was there just like recording the whole thing. Me and my wife put a birth vlog on our other channel, Nizo Journeys. You can check that out on YouTube as well. I have an episode coming out soon called A Day in the Life with a Newborn. That one's also coming to the Nizo Journeys YouTube channel. But just seeing him finally after 9 months, you start from an ultrasound, you start from just like a little speck on a computer screen. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're looking at this full-grown baby in your hands. And he came out with like a full head of hair. He came out crying, of course, stuff like that. It was strange. The things that nobody really prepares you for are the soft spot, like where it might be, They said he might come out with like a weird shaped head, but they weren't really specific about how weird it would be. Like there was one side of his head that was completely longer than the others, and man, I was like, "What is this? Like, is he okay?" And blah blah blah. And talked to the doctors, and they're like, "Yeah, that's just blood right there. It'll go down eventually." And it just went down the other day, so that's relief. But uh, just the things that you can only really experience for yourself, like uh you know as a woman delivering a baby, of course you go through all that physical pain and stuff like that. It's the most excruciating thing that I think a woman can go through physically is labor, absolutely. um and not to put this on the same level as that or try to take anything away from that, but nobody really prepares the man for the pain of watching his partner go through that. Nobody really talks about that part. It was honestly kind of traumatizing for me because I'm sitting there watching my wife go through all these contractions and pain every 20, 30 seconds and realizing, yeah, there's nothing I could really do about this except just stay awake with her and breathe with her and stuff like that. There was nothing else I could really do. And it's a weird feeling of helplessness. However, you understand at the same time that um, she's going through all this pain for a positive reason, that it'll be over eventually, but you still, that's easy for you to say as, the man. You're not really going through that pain like she is. But I just, I will say that I had a tremendous amount of respect for women before, but it just tripled after I watched her go through that. I just could not believe what I had just witnessed. Like, it was absolutely breathtaking. I've never seen anything like that before. I'll tell you that much. And looking at my son for the first time, a lot of different thoughts went through my head. Some thoughts of, man, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. instant instant love for him. Um, Fell in love with him the moment that I saw him. The moment that I felt him kick actually in her stomach, like I was just mesmerized by him, and I couldn't wait to meet him. But just holding him in my arms, I'm like, I have a responsibility to you now to make sure that you're as well prepared for life as you can possibly be. Um, and obviously, this might rub people the wrong way, but preparing a African American child for life is a lot different than preparing a child of a different ethnicity for life. There's different challenges. Of course, there's different challenges that every race faces, but specifically African Americans, there's different challenges that we face as Black people that your kids have to be prepared for. They can't be blind to it, but they also need to know that there's hope for the world. You don't want to teach your child that everybody hates them and there's no place for them in the world and everything's just bad and this, that, and the third. You want to speak positivity into their lives while also speaking a little bit of realism into their lives. So I think my dad personally did a very, very good job raising me, as he didn't have an example prior. Um, his dad wasn't a big part of his life, but he, instead of using that as a hindrance to him doing what he needed to do to take care of me, he instead used that as the motivation to ensure that he would always take care of me. He didn't want me to have to go through the exact same thing that he went through. He didn't want me to have to lack the support that he lacked from his dad. And my great grandfather was a great father figure for him. Um, he was a big part of his life. And my dad would be the first person to tell anybody that, that, yeah, he didn't have his father, but he still was able to learn how to be a man, thanks to his grandfather and my great grandfather. But my dad never wanted me to have to deal with those types of barriers. He wanted to ensure that he was always going to be around. He wanted to ensure that he was always going to be teaching me, guiding me every step of the way. And that's exactly what he did. Even when I didn't live with him, I didn't start living with my father until I was in fourth grade. But even prior to that, he was always guiding me. He was always picking me up, spending time with me. And after third grade, I ended up moving in with him and my stepmother, Marita. And I lived with them until I moved out and joined the military. And I guess just watching him, how he carried himself, it kind of pisses me off and rubs me the wrong way when I see a stereotypical generalization of Black fathers in America, that they aren't there, that um, all of them want to be tough guys and this, that, and the third, and none of them have a sensitive spot for their kids and stuff. They're all like, you know, like, oh, we gotta go hard 24/7. We gotta be tough 24/7. That's not how all Black fathers are. Some Black fathers have that personality. Other Black fathers do not have that same personality. My dad was a little bit of both, which was good for me because he was able to teach me how to be tough and take tough love and take tough criticism, but he also was kind to me and as patient as he possibly could be with me. And most importantly, like, he was there, like I said, there's a lot of there's a lot of bad rap that black fathers in America get that, I really don't appreciate, especially now being a black father. Like I'm in that group. And I've looked at other ethnicities, and I've seen families that have broken homes, and the father or the mother isn't there, stuff like that, but that doesn't get highlighted. It doesn't get highlighted at all. The only thing that gets highlighted is when black fathers aren't there. And I'm not gonna lie and say that some of them aren't. Some of them aren't. My own brother didn't have his father. Um, my little brother and little sister, their father wasn't prominent in their lives until, I don't know, I guess like a couple years ago. And that's just the truth. Like this is it's not something that's not in existence. It's just not as prevalent as the national image would like you to believe. And I feel like now I have the responsibility as a black father to a young black boy. I have a responsibility to make sure that I break that that image that has been placed on us, because it's an unfair image. It really is. It really, really is. I know for a fact that I have more friends that are African American that have had their fathers in their lives than friends that haven't. And that's just the truth. But regardless of that fact, there will always be people that love to throw that type of joke onto black fathers, which, in my opinion, just really is not fair at all. It's borderline disrespectful because, there might be some people listening to this that'll be like, oh, it's just a joke. Like, it's just, it's funny. It's a running joke through generations. But when does that joke come to an end? Eventually, that joke ends up being a idea of a group of people, and then all of a sudden, that group of people get judged accordingly based on what that image is. And to be perfectly honest with you, the joke's just not funny at all. Because Black Parenthood is so important, especially in a day and age where we're seeing sort of a generational revolution that's occurring. You're seeing a lot of black children start to educate themselves on a lot of different things that we haven't been educating ourselves on in the past few decades. You got black children educating themselves on ownership, owning property, investing money. You have black children chasing entrepreneurship. You have black men like myself, black women like my wife chasing entrepreneurship. And it's really important that these black children and even these black grown-ups who still have their parents alive in their lives, it's important that the parent is there to encourage and guide that child, because in my opinion, the way that I want to raise my child is that I want him to understand that he never has to work for anybody if he stays consistent and works hard for the things that he wants to do in life. If he wants to have a podcast like me, like his dad, then he can do that and he can make money from that. He can make his living from a podcast, but he has to stay consistent and he has to do research. He has to know what he's doing. He has to get the right equipment. He has to do research on that equipment so he's not wasting his money. That type of stuff is so important to teach your child, because we're living in a world now where everything is getting so advanced. You really have to be one step ahead of everybody at all times, if not 10 steps ahead. My point is, you can't afford to be behind at all. You can't be behind the curve on anything. If there's something that you want to do, you have to start gaining knowledge on it. I'm in the process of reading a lot of books right now. I took a very, very long break from reading. And I would think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my life, because while I'm still literate and all that stuff, of course, it's just I missed out on so much information that I could have had before that could have put me in a better position in life than I am right now. But it's okay because I'm making the best out of the situation that I have. But my point is that, when you have more knowledge, of course you have more power. I mean, that sounds very stereotypical, but a lot of black children aren't taught to read. And I think that's a problem. And what I mean by taught to read is not how to read and how to write, but taught to always be seeking more knowledge. Don't think that you have all the answers. Always be reading a book about something. That's what the rich people do. That's what rich people teach their kids. Poor people don't teach their kids to always be reading and acquiring more knowledge, because that's not what they're doing themselves. Rich, I believe I read a statistic. It said something like rich people on average read about 50 books a year. And I'm like, geez, that's a lot of books. Like, are those all like 300-page books? But they don't have to be 300-page books. That's something that I had to think about as well. There's some short books that you can gain a lot of knowledge from, and there's some long books that you can gain a lot of knowledge from. But the key is not to be intimidated by the size of a book. If you place a book in front of your black child at a young age, and keep placing books in front of them and keep placing books in front of them and show them the value that's in those books, it can mean the world of difference. My dad and my stepmom did put books in front of me. They had me reading during the summers. They had me reading novels and things like that. And, I've definitely read a lot of books. It's just as I got older and I moved out, and I joined the military. Joining the military is something that I thought for sure that I would want to do for 20 years. So I didn't feel like gaining knowledge was necessary anymore. Like, that wasn't something that was at the forefront of my mind. But now, knowing that I want to branch out and do more stuff on my own and work for myself, it's a different feeling of, okay, I need to gain as much knowledge and as much good habits as I possibly can. And that transitions into me being able to pass down that knowledge and those good habits to my son. That way he can pattern my behavior, he can emulate it, and he can start doing the exact same things that I'm doing, so that when he has his opportunity, he starts making his money, he knows what to do with it. One of the biggest things I think my parents taught me was social skills. That's the biggest thing that they taught me. They taught me a little bit about money management, about building your credit and stuff like that, but that wasn't the main focus of their parenting. The biggest thing that I took away from them, though, was how to talk to people, how to talk to important people, how to hold my head high and act like I deserve to be wherever it is that I am. They taught me all that stuff. And those are lessons that I can pass down to my son now, because they took the time out to teach me that. So now what I want to learn is money management, like on a whole nother scale. I want to learn investing, property, real estate, all that good stuff. That's what I'm in the process of learning right now. That way I can take everything that I've learned and pass it down to my son. That way, as a generation of black children, they can grow up knowing how to build and how to gain wealth in America, which is another thing that I think is extremely, extremely important that we should be teaching our kids. Ownership. We need to own the things that we're living in. We need to own the places that we're working in. We need to own. And that's what I want to do. I want to have ownership of my life, of my finances, of my career, all that stuff. I want to be able to say nobody controls anything that I do or where I live or anything like that. I control 100% of that. There is no middleman. I am the middleman. I'm the end man. I'm the beginning man. I own everything. But I can't do that without knowledge, and he can't do that without me teaching that knowledge to him as he's growing up. Black Parenthood is so, 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 so important. And if you're a black father, if you're a father, period, or a mother, period, but specifically if you're a black father or mother, I want to give you a special shout out because it really, it's a challenge that we as a generation are overcoming. And I remember growing up, everybody had everything bad to say about our generation, and now look at us. Look at us leading the next generation and the previous generation into the future. Just look at what we're doing as a people. Like, we are day by day changing the world one step at a time. We are making our voices more heard. We are more wisely using our platforms. We are understanding the things that are available to us and using them to our advantage. We're doing all that stuff. Like, this is quite possibly the world-changing generation of black men and women right here, right now. That's all I have for you guys today. Once again, this is a near and dear topic to me, one that hits home now more than ever, especially because of my newfound responsibilities in life. And it's just something that I've wanted to talk about and get off my chest for a while, but I didn't really have the words until I saw my son in my arms for the first time. But now I understand my roles and responsibilities, and I hope you all who have children, I hope you understand those roles and responsibilities as well. So as always, subscribe here on Spotify, on iTunes, or YouTube, wherever you're listening. Follow me on Twitter at Schixomania, and follow me on Instagram at SchizoForever. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the Schixo Podcast.